gradually making progress with our, at least we are there. Here you can see now that total shipment is now 2. The address, the balance is now 91.99. So we're making progress, we're making progress. And also we have been able to do this. Now let's go ahead to list. Let's jump right into it. Now to do that, just come right here. This is where you're getting the list of shipments, shipment list. So now I can release this now. I just want to keep the last one. Now I'll just copy this. It's just the same pattern. Just the same pattern. It's just the same pattern. Now shipment list. So also, because we need to fetch the shipments, we need right here the use states and use effects. You know what use state is used for now, and you also know what use effect is used for now. Alright, since I'll make that to be a client-side component, since I'm using use state and use effects, use state and use effects. So now, what I need here to, I also need to interact with the smart contracts. So I'll get the contracts. I'll get it from the use supply chain context. Get it from the use supply chain context. And also, I need to maintain a state of shipments. Set shipments. So by default, to be an empty array. Also, while I'm loading it, sometimes it might take some time to load, since we are loading 10, sometimes 20. Let's just have it loading so that we not keep the user wondering what's wrong with the application when we are actually trying to fetch them data in order for us to serve them. So now let's define the function fetch the shipments. Function that will fetch the shipments, that will be an asynchronous function. So the first thing is, if there's no contracts, it's as good as not trying to run anything. So if there's a contract, the first thing is to set our loading, so that the user will we need to make this to be updated. So that the user will not just be wondering what is going on. So the loading should be true, and then we try to see if there will be an issue. And if there is an issue, we catch error. Alright, so now what we want to try is first to get the total shipment that we have. Let's convert that to a number with the contracts. So how do we get the total shipments that we have? It's the same thing, shipment counter. Shipment counter. So that will give us the total number of shipment that we have. At the moment, it should be 2. So let's say we have our shipment data. It will be an empty array. So what we just do is just to loop through everything. Here we set it. Initially it should be 0. And from there we want to have it less than the total one that we have, the index. Because this one is not less than or equals to 2 times, because let's say it is 10, it is 5 for example. The first one will be index 0, the second one will be index 1, the third one will be index 2, fourth one will be index 3, and fifth one will be index 4. So it's not to 5. So that's why we need to stop it at that. Then we can then start with const shipment. shipment equals to await contracts. So you want to get all the shipments with that particular index. So you see, we are interacting with the smart contract directly from our front end. So now that you have that, you are currently getting the shipment with this current index. So what you will just do is just to push that value into this data. So you need the ID to display your table. You need the sender, who is the sender of this parcel. You need the receiver. Like, it's just what we have been able to work on our, you can see sender, receiver, pickup time. That's what we are just doing right there. So receiver, you need the pickup time, pickup dates. Pickup dates, you need distance. You need if it is paid or not, and you need the status where we currently at the moment. You need that. So I think that should be all that you need. So for the ID should be the current index, because you should not use 1, 2, 3. If it's in the 0, you should use 0, because by the time the logistic provider want to update it, the receiver want to receive it, they will use the ID. So if you go and set as 1, then you may as well be updating the wrong delivery. So the sender will be the shipment dot. Now don't forget, we have some characters, some details here. So we need the seller this time around to be the sender. So let's just be beginning from there like that. Shipments. Pick it from the structure again. Now we done. Okay, receiver. We are doing the receiver now. The receiver is this. The buyer. So the pickup dates. What's the problem? Oh, I see. So pickup dates should be shipments. That's go again. Pickup dates. Please, you have to be sure to use the same value. That's why I always prefer to just copy and paste instead of just making the case. The distance should also be shipments. Get the value of the distance here too. And also the paid. Shipments that's paid. If it is paid or not. So how do you know if it is paid? So just do status like, of course it was paid when the seller cannot create it without paying for it. So but how do you know if it was paid or not? So just do shipment.status. So if it is equals to 2, then that means it has been delivered. So that shows it has been paid, or it has been confirmed that it has been received. So that means it has been paid for. Let's just define another one here to be the price. Price will be ethers. Now we need to import ethers, because we need to convert string to its value. So let's just import ethers from where now? From ethers. Yeah. Let's shoot. Price should be, let's format that string. Ethers dot format ether shipments dot price. You show this price. This price. Just to be sure. Now we put a comma here. So if it is delivered, then it means that it has been paid. Otherwise, it's not paid. So the status should be, let's just create an array and get all these values here. Let's get all these values here. Since we are working with JavaScript, we need to put it in. Current status. So what we're just trying to do is, like, if it is 0, to pick it as created. If it is 1, to pick it as paid. If it is 2, to pick it as delivered. So that's that. So once you have been able to finish running through the loop, then you just set the shipments. Set the shipments to the data. So what you're just trying to do here is you run through the loop, get the first one, add it to data, get the second one, add it to data, get the fourth one, add it to data. And at the end of the day, once you are done with the loop, you just set the shipment to the data. There might be some issue, so we must not shy away from that. So let's just be ready for it. Error loading shipments. So let's just display the error. And there's something that we call finally, like meaning that either there's an error or there's no error. It will definitely still come and run this finally. So let's just use this finally to set loading to false, so that either there's an error or not, it should stop loading once there's nothing that is currently being processed again. So having done that, we now say, okay, once this page load, just use the use effects to load. Notice how I'm writing it, so I'm writing onto like that. So just use the use effects to load our shipments details. So just call this function, immediately this is loaded. Also, we want to call it again once the contract status change. I think it's advisable we do this below the function here. So having done that, we can now go ahead, instead of listing all this by default, we can now go ahead to allow our table to read the record all by itself. So after the table header, so once we get here, the first thing we want to do is to be sure we don't have the loading, like it's currently not loading. So let's check if it is currently loading, then we want to display a spinner. So how do we do that? So we just, don't forget when you want to write JavaScript in HTML, so what we just need to do is just to do curly braces. We want to check if it is loading. So don't forget your if else. If it is loading, it will display this. Otherwise, it will display this. So if it is loading, we want to display a spinner. So we need to get the spinner from React Bootstrap. Spinner is just rolling, something that always roll when something is still loading, still processing. So we want to display the spinner. And we want to set the animation to be border. Self-closing tag, so we don't need to pass anything in between. Otherwise, if it is not loading, then we can have the table. We can have the table, so just close the table so that I can move it. To move it, I'll just highlight it, then I'll do Alt and up arrow, so you can see currently here now, so I don't need to stress myself too much. Alright, so now that we have been able to set to that, let's see if The loading will work now. Let's just refresh. You can see it's currently loading. Once it finishes loading, display. So now let's update what we want it to display. So just set the table after the header. We have the header here, right here. So after the header, the first thing I want to check is that I want to check if the shipment is currently, we don't have any shipment, then we just want to display that. All right, there's no shipment found. So I'll just display shipments, the length is equals to 0, and I also check if it is not loading, because the reason why the length might be equals to 0 is because maybe it is loading at the moment. So display this. Now notice something here, that this is not an if-else statement. This is just if it is true. Like if this is true, then go ahead to the next one. If it is true, then go ahead to the next one. So it's just a one way. So it will not be executed if it is not true. So that's why we are setting it before. So we are negating loading. So that means if it is not loading, it will be false. So when we negate it, it will be true. So now we have, cannot display table body. Table body to be row, and also the table body. So when you see TB, it means table body, and we want to have the column span. We want to range from column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we want it to range 9 columns. So just say no shipments found. No shipments found. No shipments found. So we can save it. Of course, we have shipment at the moment. So if you check, you will not see that. So if for us to see how it will look, you can just temporarily change this to true. So if we change it to true, automatically you'll see no shipments found. So that's why we are going to be having it. So but let's go back to the normal implementation. So that when there's no shipment, it will display that. So once we have that, we can then now, instead of just coding all this value, we are going to now loop through our shipments. How do we loop through our shipments? We loop through our shipments using the map functionality. So this map functionality will give us one shipment, and then we also get the index. That means if it is, the first one will be 0, the next one is 1, the next one will be 2, and so on and so forth. So just to replace all this stuff, so we have this, then instead of us to now have this, let's just copy one table row, put it there. So the first one, anytime you are using your map, you need to define the key. Which should be unique identifier for each iteration. So let's set the index as the key. Then for the index, we need to display the real index, the real ID of the shipments. Now don't forget, we have actually defined some values here. Where is it? We have defined some values here, ID, so you can just copy everything. Because I like to just use it to avoid unnecessary mistake. So just erase this, erase this, erase this, erase this, erase this, erase this, erase this. So I can also erase this too. So the ID, shipment, the current iteration, id. Now this is the next one is the sender. Sorry, I did not close this tag. The next one is the sender, shipments. That's the value here. Sender. The next one is the receiver. You can see receiver. So just space this a bit. Space this a bit. Shipment dot receiver. To ensure I do not make mistake, I just copy exactly. The next one is what? Pickup dates. Shipment dot pickup dates. The next one is the distance. For the distance, we like to upload the kilometer. So just to shipment, the current iteration dot distance. Now put kilometer back. Then the price. I can just copy this. I can leave the its price. Then I also need the delivery time. So, but the delivery time, sometimes it is long, especially when it has not been delivered. So, we need to consider that too in our implementation. So, I'll just do this. Shipments dot if you have a delivery date, let me see. Now we don't even define the delivery date. Our smart contract has delivery date. So we need to define that. You see why it is important for you to just sometimes do copy and paste so that you know what you're missing. We need the delivery date here. Delivery date. Yes, that's the delivery date. Just copy it right away. So if you have delivery dates, you want to check if you have delivery date. So if you have delivery dates, you want to say shipment dot delivery date. Otherwise, you want to say not available. That means you don't have a delivery date yet since it has not been delivered. Then the status, if it has been paid. So what make it to be paid is if it has been delivered. So if the logistics provider has been actually make the payment, if the logistics provider has been paid. So here you are checking delivery dates. If there's a delivery date, then it means that he or she has been paid. The logistics provider has been paid, otherwise they have not been paid. So if you have a delivery date, then it means that's paid. Yes. Let's just do some emoji here. And if they have not been paid, no, they have not been paid. So the status, you also have the status. So you can see paid status now. Just copy this dot status. So you can even use paid for this one. Save it to my version. Right, so now that we have that, we can as well then tell these people that thank you for helping us maintain the space. Now we are good without you. So now you can see the address, the receiver, the pickup time, the distance, the price, delivery time not available, paid, not yet, status is created for the two. But there is a problem. This address should not be displayed full. Let's try to shorten it. Let's just write, there's a place where we wrote a function to shorten. That's navigation bar, so we can just copy it again so that we can use it here. Which the list here. So we can just put that function here. Then just shorten. Just shorten the address. Same thing for this too. Shorten the address so that our table will look nice. Now you can see it's nice now. Being able to shorten the address. This is the seller, this is the receiver, this is the pickup time, the distance, the price, delivery time not available yet,